everyone, welcome to the last episode of Dance Around the Clock. It's a gorgeous day outside, so I thought, why not do this episode outdoors today? This episode is going to be all about tap dancing, all about the history of tap dance, and we're going to learn a tap step and maybe watch a couple videos. Let's get started. We are going to watch a video called How Tap Dance Was Made in America.
Tap is one of the first original American art forms. It's an instantly recognizable combination of movement and sound.
It's such a fun thing to see because people want to see what is at the bottom of the shoe, and how you make the sound, and that's always a curiosity. This is how we make the sound with the aluminum. Originally they were wooden.
Tap dancing started in 5 Points, now Chinatown in New York City. This slum was one of the city's first melting pots. The percussive dances that nurtured tap came from African ceremonies, Irish jigging, and British clogging. In the early 1800s, African American and Irish people lived and worked side by side. Martin Scorsese referenced the origins of tap in Gangs of New York.
Rhythms of the Dark Continent, thrown into the kettle with an Irish shindig.
Some historians believe that enslaved people in America started using their bodies and feet for percussion after drums were banned to discourage rebellion. That part of history is shared with jazz, and with improvisation as an essential element. Tap is also considered jazz.
We were considered musicians. We consider ourselves musicians.
Historical records from the mid-1800s describe early tap as a popular entertainment for blacks and whites in cellars and dance halls. Minstrels performed along with folk music on violins and banjos. Those Irish reels were the pop music at the time, and as pop music evolved, so did the fancy footwork. Early tappers like Master Juba even went on to tour Europe. By the end of that century, black minstrel shows made people laugh, and over time, tap dancing became associated with American comedy. In the 1900s, tap appeared in films even before they had sound. The style became very popular in the 1930s and 40s, when it was featured in major Hollywood movies and Broadway shows. As the decades passed, tap was displaced by other styles in popular music and was relegated to musical theater. Traditional tap became an underground expression. In the 70s in New York, Jane Goldberg and Brenda Buffalino produced shows to return the old hoofers back to the stage.
I think we were looking for authenticity, and we knew that the Broadway tap wasn't the, quote, real thing. We don't go 5, 6, 7, 8. We go, like, in other words, you don't count. You just do it rhythmically.
The style is still strong in New York City, where young dancers honor the old hoofers.
To make music from your feet, from like your ancestors and like your spirit, and for it to come out that way, I think it's quite amazing. The most important thing is the music. When the music isn't there anymore, and this is being substituted, say be it the arms or the face or not being honest, that's when it becomes a problem. It's all about the music.
There are old moves still in force. A basic routine from the 1920s, the shim sham, is still danced worldwide. And tap moves on, merging with new immigrant styles.
Always felt very connected with the rhythms that I grew up with, and so I decided to just put together with my other passion, tap dance. Bossa Nova, samba, maracatu, all those rhythms together. I mix the American art form, tap dance, with my Brazilian influence.
As tap evolves, dancers who preserve the old hoofer style are hopeful that it will continue to capture audiences into the future.
Something that is so very intimate and so very rare, I find that it's always fresh and that it's always new. Whenever people see tap dancing, they're like, wow, how can you do that with your feet? It just always makes people smile.
So as we just heard in this video we watched, musical theater tap is often different from the original art form of tap dancing, and a lot of that has to do with a lot of tap dancing in musical theater is all about the production number, the wow factor, which is very presentational and often doesn't feel authentic. And in theater, we count, like we heard in the video, we count 5, 6, 7, 8, because we have to have, okay, everyone's hitting this step or this shape on count 5, and the original tap dance was not about that. It was about how you feel the music and scatting, and it's like scatting with your feet. We also heard how tap is a form of jazz. But I'm going to talk about how tap and musical theater can come together, and how I like to choreograph tap for musical theater to try and honor both the best that I can. My favorite part about tap dancing is that it feels like I'm singing with my feet. I'm going to say that again. I'm singing with my feet, meaning I have a melody that I'm playing, whether it's treble or bass or a little bit of both. My feet or my tap shoes are a part of the orchestra or the band or whatever instruments I'm playing with that day. You know, if you're in a musical and you have a large orchestra, you're an orchestra member at that point, or at least your feet are, because you get to decide, are you doing something treble or light, or are you hitting a bass line? So when someone's choreographing for tap, it's not just about the look of what the tap dance is visually, it's also what are you hearing. I can go da 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 da, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. I can also make it look like, or all different kinds of sounds. This is darker. This is lighter. This has an accent. It's the same rhythm, but I can play it many, many different ways. Then once I figure out what I want it to sound like, where I want the downbeat, do I want it to be out so there's really no accent? Do I want it to hit the downbeat so that we're hearing da, ga, 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 and then just playing and right? Going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You can do that as well. So because when I'm choreographing, I'm creating a melody line for my feet, it's really helpful for me to be able to read music so that I can read what each part in the orchestra is playing and where their accents are, where they're pulled back. And you know, if there's a part that's mezzo forte, do I want to add something that's forte or piano, or do I want to stay mezzo forte with the rest of the orchestra? There's a lot of moving parts when you're choreographing for tap that's more than just the visual aspect. But then, once I've decided, okay, I know I want to hit the 1, the 4, and the 7, and they're going to be bass accents and everything else is going to be treble, then I can decide, what do I want that to look like? I can hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? I hit the 1, the 4, and the 7. But that might not be super fun for everyone at home to watch. So I can add the musical theater-ness to it, going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that makes a visual for everyone in the audience watching, going out. We all know this kind of step, right? Adding a scuff, hitting on 7. That's where the rest of the dance world comes into play, where it's not just about your feet, but it's about how the whole body is expressing the music and not just what the feet are sounding like. So there's two parts about tap dancing when you're choreographing. what do I want my melody to sound like? Am I going to complement the orchestra? Am I going to play exactly what they're playing? Am I going to chase the music? Am I going to hit their accents? And then there's the section of, well, what do I want the audience to see? I can play certain accents, but it's not going to be exciting to watch unless you have the visual aspect as well. Another thing to keep in mind when choreographing for tap is, okay, we have the orchestra, we have your tap shoes. A lot of times, this company is also singing while tapping, while everything's happening with the orchestra, right? So you really have multiple voices. You have all the voices in the orchestra. You have the voice on your feet, and then you have the literal voices that are singing. So this is where, especially with tap dance, being really close and working closely together with the music director and or dance arranger is really important. So when I'm doing a show that has a lot of tap in it, I'm constantly in communication with the music director to make sure, hey, I know that the orchestra is straight at this point, but I want to swing, meaning if the orchestra's playing something even, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I want to swing, yeah, if I want to swing something while a straight rhythm is playing underneath me, I have to check in with the music director to make sure, okay, is that going to mess up whatever the company's singing vocally? Because if they're singing something that's a straight rhythm and I'm trying to get them to swing with their feet, that's doing something like this, right? So it's possible, and we've all done it before, I'm sure. If you've been in a show and you have to sing one rhythm but do something else with your body, that's why we're all trained to sing and dance and act at the same time, because it is a bunch of moving parts. But because tap shoes have a music, a melody line, they have a voice of their own, it's really good to check in with the music director to make sure everything's gonna be a cohesive piece at the end.
Disclaimer, you do not need tap shoes to participate.
We're going to learn the most classic, basic time step that's in all of tap and musical theater. We've all seen this kind of step, right? Think 42nd Street, opening number. Yeah? That's for reference. We are going to learn a single time step. So there's hundreds of different kinds of time steps, but like I said, we're going to do the classic one that we've all seen before. You can make every kind of variation possible with this time step. There's the basic single, double, or triple option, but then like in 42nd Street, they add an option with a wing, which just basically means they make it really fancy. And then you can do many, many other, you can take this basic step and do 1,000 things with it. So we're gonna learn a single time step today. So why is it called that? Well, it's because the step keeps time. You can do it forever and ever and ever and ever, and the step never ends until you add a break or come out of it somehow. But the step can just go on forever and keeps you in the pocket of the music. So let's get started. I'm going to say a lot of things like stomp and step. So let's clarify what that means right now. Stomp means that it goes down and back up. Another way of saying that is that you don't transfer weight. So wherever your standing leg is, that's where your weight stays. The stomp goes down and up. Think of stomp is spelled with an O. Think of the O as a bouncy ball. Comes back up. That's how I learned it as a kid. Then I'm going to say step a lot, which is exactly what it sounds like. You step just like you would if you were walking, but you transfer your weight just like you would as if you were walking. A stomp does not transfer weight. A step does. Also, everyone, this is Trixie. She's come to join tap class today. Hey, Trix. Great. So the step starts, the time step starts with a stomp. You're going stomp. Then you hop. You step. That's a change of weight. Stomp, hop, step. Notice that as I'm stepping, the other leg is coming up so that it's free to move. Now I'm going to turn sides so you can see. A flap. Flap is two sounds. It goes brush, step. Again, brush, step. So it does transfer weight. And just so you know, it's okay if you don't have tap shoes on, but in my tap shoes, I'm only hitting this front tap. The back tap in a flap is not involved. So we had stomp, hop, we step, flap, step, stomp. And now we're on the other side. Try it again. We always start on count 8. No matter what. We never start a time step on count 1. It's always on count 8. Up 5, 6, 7, 8. Hop, step, flap, step, stomp. Again, we have stomp, hop, step, flap, step, stomp. Let's do the other side. We have stomp, hop, step, flap, step, and then you have stomp to get to the next side. A reminder, flap goes brush, change your weight. When you're doing fast flaps, they often are called running flaps. It's as if you're running, and then you add a brush in the middle of it, going brush, run, brush, run, brush, run, brush, run. That's the forward motion of a flap when it's fast. Let's try one side and then the next. Up 5, 6, 7, 8. Hop, step, flap, step, stomp. Hop, step, flap, step, stomp. I'm going to turn this way so you can follow along this way. Right foot. Up 5, 6, 7, 8. Hop, step, flap, step, stomp. Hop, step, again. How are we doing? So just a reminder, after your flap, your weight is shifted forward. This next step doesn't also go forward. It actually stays underneath you. Your flap, you step right underneath yourself so that this front leg is freed to go stomp. Let's try it again. I'm going to face this way. 5, 6, 7, 8. Hop, step, flap, step, stomp. 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 Now, if you're feeling good about that and want to get fancy, you can add the arms. Stomp, arms come up. So they come to here. They come up, and then there's two ways of doing it. They can either just swing down and back to come back up, or in some shows, they go up and then they push out. Stomp, hop, step, flap, step, stomp. Or you can go stomp, hop, step, flap, step, stomp. Hop, step, flap, step, stomp. Just so you know in your brains that this is very common when you're doing a single time step. When we move on to a double or a triple and the leg goes out, I'll show you what a triple looks like as stomp, hop, shuffle, step, flap, step, stomp, hop, shuffle, step. That's when the arms mirror what the legs are doing. So I would suggest for now, because we're only doing singles, that the arms come up and swing back. Let's try it one more time. A little faster. Up 5, 6, 7, 8. Hop, step, go back, step, hop, hop, step, go back, step, hop. And there you have it. There's a time step. Thanks so much for joining me this week and every week with Dance Around the Clock. I've had so much fun sharing my knowledge of dance history and dance steps with you all. It's been a blast. I hope you keep practicing. Until next time.